Hi everyone! Today we are here in my sewing studio just to chat. I thought I have a few things I want to talk about and show you, so why not just have a little chat like we were all in my sewing room just hanging out. I don't know. I have my Pellegrino, which when I'm sewing I always have one of these. I get them at Costco and there's like 3 flavors in them. Anyway, so get a drink if you want, and we're just going to have a little chat. So the first thing I was going to talk about, or I am going to talk about, I have my little list because I tend to forget. I just start rambling and I forget what I want to say. First thing I was going to share with you are my favorite tips from Threads magazine. I have gone through several several of the past issues and picked out my favorites, so I thought I would share them with you and see what you guys think. The first one comes from this issue. Oh, it's August, September 2018. I thought it was August, September 2019. So we'll start with that one, and I marked my favorite tip. It looks like I have one from this issue, and that is a tip on matching a bobbin to thread. So this reader says, I found a way to store my bobbins so that the thread does not unwind and I always know the thread's brand and color number for matching. I thread the end of the bobbin thread through one of the holes in the bobbin and bring it to the flat side of the bobbin. I write the first letter of the thread brand and its color code on an Avery temporary 3/4 inch round sticker and affix it to the bobbin over the thread tail. Okay, so there's actually a picture in here, and I will take a picture of the picture and put it in the video because it's much easier to understand when you see it. So she says, the sticker keeps the thread from unwinding and enables me to record the colors. I use this process to mark embroidery threads as well because I sometimes want the bobbin thread to be the same color as the needle thread. Additionally, I can code P for polyester, S for silk, and C for cotton below the number if I have several spools are the same color but different types. So I like that tip. I thought it was helpful. So let's move on to the next issue, and I have one from the February-March 2019 issue of Threads. And it looks like there's a lot of tips in this issue, but I marked quite a few. I have 5. So the first one is a tip for matching plaids and stripes. This reader says, I have found a method that makes matching easier on plaids or stripes. I pin and cut out one side of the garment on a single layer first, taking my time to get the layout just right before cutting. Then I removed the pinned pattern from the first piece, fold the cut fabric piece over, and use it as a pattern for the opposite garment side instead of the paper pattern piece. I can match the plaid position precisely from one side to the other. I think that's really cool, and I think the next time I'm trying to match, I will try this technique, and perhaps I'll even film it just to see how it goes. I know that sometimes these more complex tips are a little hard to visualize, and so I'll try it. I don't know, maybe I should read who gave these tips. Maybe that's nice because it's like giving credit. So the thread one was from Selena Harden in Madison, Alabama. I think it'd be funny if one of you tip givers is watching this video. And the matching plaids and stripes is from Letitia Wetterauer. Hope I said that right. Alpine, Texas. The next one I have is Ease Fabric Simply, and I have actually tried this and it works, and I really like this tip. So it says, when a pattern calls for ease stitching, I pull the threads tightly to gather the sleeve cap, then ungather it by gently smoothing the fabric along the stitching line. It never returns to its original length, but almost always the perfect length for the seam it is eased to. It works well for the sleeve caps that need ease but no gathers. So this is true. When you basically pull it as tight as you can, and then you kind of let the the gathers go, but the fabric maintains this sort of like crumply effect, which is basically the ease. So it eases very nicely into a sleeve, and this tip did work, and it's from Roberta Merrill in Payson, Utah. So moving on to the other tips I have. An unconventional bobbin holder. Recently I saw a photo of a new type of bobbin holder that looks exactly like a flexible silicone ice tray I own. My tray creates cylindrical ice cubes that fit in narrow-necked water bottles. I emptied the ice from one, and now I use it to hold my bobbins. The tray holds 60 bobbins securely enough that you can pick or roll it up and even turn it upside down without the bobbins falling out. Gentle pressure on the bottom pushes any one into my grasp without spilling the others. So I thought that was a nice little tip for holding bobbins, and I have seen those water or those ice cube trays, and I think it would work really well. I haven't tried it, but I think it would be a really useful tool. And this is from Laura Kaunitz in Waterford, Michigan. Okay, here's another one for gathered sleeves. To gather a sleeve cap, I use an 8mm wide knit or woven elastic that is 1/3 shorter than the desired gathered length. I use zigzag stitches within the seam allowance, gently pulling the elastic to the correct length. I leave the elastic in the finished garment as it sits neatly in the seam. This technique creates a nice gather on the top of the sleeve. I have not tried this, but I like the sound of it, and I think I will try it. So yeah, that's a good tip from Claire down Marawa, Western Australia. Thank you, Claire. And the last one for this issue is erase needle marks. When smoothing out needle holes in fabric, I use a silicone pot scrubber. A lot of tips on silicone in here. To gently move the threads back into place. You can buy one at most kitchen supply stores. They come in different sizes and colors. So that is a useful tool because sometimes I have that problem where I have the needle holes and they're not quite going back. So this is from Michelle Chavez in Lorton, Virginia. 4 more issues. And the next issue is from April-May 2019. We have 2 tips from this issue. And the first one is organize thread with straws. I found a great way to connect bobbin with the thread spool it was wound from. Cut a plastic drinking straw into 3-inch long pieces. You should be able to get 3 pieces from 1 non-bendable straw. Cut a slit down each straw piece so that it can curl inward, reducing the straw's diameter to fit into the spool. Insert the cut straw through the large hole on top of the spool of thread. Thread the bobbin onto the straw piece so that it sits on top of the spool. This technique is also useful for storing small spools of thread. When I'm running out of my room on my spool racks, I'm able to fit 2 small spools on 1-inch 3-piece of straw. So as I'm reading this, I feel like it sounds way more complicated than it actually is. So you might need to rewind and listen to that again. This is from Mary Ann Caraba in Southgate, Michigan. The next tip is sealant. She says, I used to work for a toy manufacturer creating doll clothing. We frequently used fray check to finish raw edges as the seam allowances were too small for the serger. Instead of fumbling with the fray check bottle, which wasn't precise enough for our work, we put the fray check in unused nail polish bottles. You can find new empty bottles online inexpensively at sites like Amazon.com. Where the brush is great for applying fray check exactly where you need it. Close the bottle after use and the fray check keeps for a long time. This is from Jennifer Fournier, North Hollywood, California. I like the idea of that tip because I find, when you squirt the fray check, sometimes like too much comes out or it just kind of goes everywhere. So having a more controlled application seems like a really good idea. Okay. We've got next we have threads June, July 2019. So I believe this was the last issue before the current issue, which the current issue is next. Sorry, the issues are kind of like all crazy chronological unorder. So we have one tip. There wasn't a lot of tips in this issue. The one I like, and now I have a little star, and it's like, it's in the middle of 4, and I don't know which one I'm even, paper stabilizes knit seams. This is a tip I have heard before in some of the, some of the books I've read, and the Craftsy class, I should say blueprint class on sewing difficult fabrics. Kenneth King does suggest something like this. So this reader says, I sew a lot of preemie and newborn garments for charity. Many require jersey knits, which can be stretched out or drawn into the bobbin area at the start of the seam. To combat this, I cut small squares of waxed paper, which I keep in a small bowl near my sewing machine. I put one under the fabric at the start of my stitching line. It stabilizes the stitches and tears away easily when I'm done sewing. This is from Melina Picro, Lakewood, Colorado. And again, I'm sorry if I'm butchering anyone's name. But yeah, that's a good tip. And this one is the current issue, I believe. Yes, October, November. 2019, obviously. So this one, a lot of tips, but I have 3. So this one is hands-free button placement. To keep buttons in place while hand or machine sewing them to a garment, I stick a small piece of double-faced tape to the back of the button, making sure it does not cover the holes. One end of the tape should hang off the button like a tail. Then I remove the tape's paper backing and place the button where I need it on the garment. It's secure and I can add as many buttons as I need. The tape secures the buttons so I don't have to worry about them shifting while I sew. After I attach the buttons, I peel off the tape. This is from Carol Crocker Ware in Glenwood, Illinois, and I actually read in a different issue a similar tip, except the reader was using double-sided basting tape. So there's that option too, rather than peeling it off. Next we have organized class materials, and this is something that I also do and I have been doing. She says, I keep a binder with the handouts and samples I receive at classes and conferences. I slip the papers and samples for each technique into page protectors. Sometimes I need the information long after I receive the materials. This method ensures that I can find what I need when I need it, and it keeps the instructions with correct samples. So I do that, and I even use the page protectors. Just think it keeps things nice and neat, and I have binders with printed pattern instructions for my indie patterns or articles that I have found useful. So I'm all about that kind of organization. So the next one, I didn't mark it because I thought it was like a great tip and maybe people want to play it. But maybe you do. Maybe you're going to love this tip. I marked it because it just sounds like a lot and it's probably really well worth it. But for those of you especially that don't like to use PDF patterns because it's a pain in the butt to print out all of the papers and tape them, you're going to find this really entertaining. But I have to say, Joanne Frey from Lexington, Massachusetts, you're awesome for doing this because I'm sure the payoff is great. But listen to this. I have a process that helps me quickly and easily work with PDF sewing patterns. First, instead of using regular printer paper, I print the pattern out on cardstock, which is easier to work with and will hold up better during the assembly process. Next, rather than pins under, as some methods suggest, I cut them off with my paper trimmer. It's fast, neat, and accurate. Okay, I can get on board with that for sure. I'm going to start doing that actually with mine. Using the assembly diagram that is provided, instead of arranging the tiles on the floor or a table, I lay them on a large piece of foam core board. Mine is about 16 inches by 38 inches and is thick enough to hold a thumbtack. foam core board is available online or at most craft stores. I then align the tiles and secure them using flat thumbtacks. I cannot speak. Unlike tape, thumbtacks can be adjusted or removed just as easily without tearing the tiles. Then I lay tracing paper over the tiles. I usually trace one pattern piece at a time so that I can be sure there is enough space to add seam allowance where required. The tracing paper can also be held down with the thumbtacks. After tracing, I leave the tiles tacked to the board until I finish the project so I can refer back to the original pattern when necessary. The board is light and easily stored. Now this is a dedicated PDF pattern user. That's pretty cool. Good for Joanne. Alright, the next issue is from August, September 2019. Oh, so this is the previous issue. I can't keep track of all these issues. What's this one? It's too many. Do I have one in here? Do I have any in here? Okay, I have two. There's a lot of tips in this issue, but I only marked two. So, seriously cannot speak today. Place motifs thoughtfully. When working with a fabric with large motifs, I trace my bodice front pattern so there is a right and left side. I find the bust point on the pattern and cut a 6-inch circle around it. This enables me to see the exact print placement, so I don't end up with two motifs where I don't want them. This is from Mary Kay Reynolds in Rochester, Washington, and I really like this idea because sometimes I just like start pinning and cutting and then I don't even really think about where my patterns are going to end up, and that's just not good. So I really like the idea that she's drawing a circle around the bust point, because anything that's sort of in the vicinity of the bust point that you don't really want, then you can really make sure that it's not going to be in an awkward position. So that is a really great tip, Mary Kay. And the last tip I have is get a foot pedal grip. This really speaks to me because just the other day I'm like trying to get my foot pedal and it's like way over here. My sewing room floor is hardwood, so it just, my pedals are all over the place. And I've tried the shelf liner, the kind of like spongy kind, and it was sort of working, but then it just stopped. I don't know. Anyway, this one says, after trying several ways to keep my machine foot pedals from sliding around on my uncarpeted sewing room floor, I finally found the solution. Impact Gel Grab Pad, designed to hold a phone securely on a car dashboard. This product is a sticky gel pad that secures the pedal until you are ready to move it. The pads come in several colors and are 5.5 inches by 3.5 inches. Apply the pad to the bottom of the foot pedal, then place the pedal where you want it and press down. Make sure the bottom of the pedal and the floor are clean and dry so the pad adheres completely. The gel pad is removable, reusable, and washable, leaves no residue on the floor or pedal. That's important. You don't want residue on your floors. The gel pads can be found online or in the electronic store with the mobile phone accessories. And this is from Kathleen Scott in Escondido, California, which is technically where I live. I live in Escondido, which is technically a little town in San Diego County. So Kathleen, I wonder if I'll ever run into you. It'd be cool if you watch this channel. So I actually just got mine in the mail today. It's not the same brand as Kathleen mentioned, but I ordered mine in clear and they're sticky. I put one on my sewing machine and it seems like it's going to work. I'm going to check and make sure that I don't have any weird marks or residue on my floor, just to be sure. I got a pack of 10 for like $10. So I'll leave a link below to Amazon where I bought them if you are interested. I have 4 machines over here, so I probably am going to use them. And I'll let you know. I'll put a little update if I think that these are really good. But it seems like it so far. So the next thing I want to talk about is, on my list, I have mood swatch boxes. As you know, I do swatch clubs from several different fabric companies. Mood is one of them. Vogue Fabrics is another. Fabric Mart. I had Minerva Crafts in the lineup there. But I'm noticing that my mood videos get the least amount of views. I'm kind of surprised about that, or maybe it's just because their fabrics aren't that affordable for everyone. I mean, they are on the pricier side. That could be why. The swatch club for Mood is like $25 a month. So it's a lot more expensive than the other companies, but their swatches are a lot bigger too. But it's a swatch. What are you going to do with it? Right? So anyway, I'm kind of debating on if I should continue to do the mood videos or not. Let me know what you think. I mean, I do enjoy it, but I'm just kind of wondering right now. I don't know. So that was just something I was thinking about, and I thought I would share here since we're chatting. And next I have, I have some sewing books, some new sewing books that I got, and I wanted to share. So let me put that one to the side. I'm going to start with this one, Sewing Secrets from the Fashion Industry. I heard about this book from Johanna from The Last Stitch. I'll link her channel below. She's really, really great, especially if you cover stitch. She wrote a cover stitch book. She's working on a denim book, sewing with denim, and she's really great. And she recommended this book, and it's just got like so many great tips. And one of them is like fabric identification. So if you take a lighter and you burn your fabric, so you can kind of figure out what kind of material it is what kind of fiber it is in case you don't remember. It's got so many just great tips. Bag lining, plackets. I mean, you know, there's tons of books with tons of different tips, but I love reading, and I always find something new in books. And I bought this book like for $4 on thriftbooks.com with 99-cent shipping. I just adore thrift books. So if you really want to build your sewing library, check them out. And this is not sponsored, but thank you, Yana, for recommending this book. It is really, really great. Yes, get this book. The next one I got in this, I think I also got this from Thrift Books. It was originally $1. I don't know what's happening here. This is Make Your Own Patterns, and this is the reason I bought this book is because I want to take my own measurements, not measurements from a dress form. You know, we as humans, we're a little bit different than a dress form. A dress form is useful, but I really want to know what's going on with me. So taking our measurements, and this book shows you exactly how to measure yourself, and then you go and you draft a bodice using your own measurements. Now, this book, which I already had, kind of does the same thing, but when I went to draft my bodice, it just really wasn't panning out for me for some reason. I don't know. I looked at my previous college books from fashion school, and everything just relates to the dress form, and I really just want a book that's going to come from the perspective of my own body. You know, I'm sure you can make it work with like taking the instructions for a dress form, but there are just certain things and nuances to your own body, and when it comes from that perspective, I just think it works better. So this is why I bought this book. So I'm going to try to draft a basic bodice with this book. If it seems to work okay, I'm considering doing a video on taking measurements and actually drafting your basic bodice, your sloper, that's what they're called. So let me know if that's of interest. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. So the book that just arrived today, and I have already kind of opened it and looked at it, is from Tilly M. Buttons. It's Love at First Stitch. I have been like just obsessed with Tilly since I made my my little knit dress with double brushed poly. I have a sew along, and I will link it so you could take a watch or just watch the first part and look at my dress and my pattern review, because I love that dress. I love that fabric. I have made a skirt from Tilly. I will link my review in there. I'm just obsessed with her. I just think that her patterns are so good and her instructions are so good that I already had her book on stretch, which is sewing with knits, but then I'm like, I have to buy her other book. She has a third one coming in February, by the way. So I open this up, and if you are a beginner sewer, you really should get this book. She talks about which most sewing books do. Materials you'll need, you know, things like that. But I just think Tilly has a way to just speak to us home sewers. She was on the Great British Sewing Bee, which is a competition for home sewers. It's, you know, Project Runway is more like high fashion. People that have been in fashion school, that want to be designers. But a lot of us, we're home sewers. We're sewing for ourselves, and we just want to improve. And this is Tilly. But yes, now she makes patterns, but she's just, this book is really, really well done. And so is her stretch book. So treat yourself and get both of her books. And both books do come with patterns. So for 20 bucks, yes. So that leads me into my other obsession, which is double brushed poly. Like, I don't know how I missed this fabric, but somehow I did. I bought some to make the dress, and I just loved it. It is like just buttery. It is soft. It is amazing. So I bought it at Joann's, and then I went back. I said, I have to have more. I ended up buying this one. It's hunter green with ivory and black, and it's got leaves, little flowers. And I'm going to make another dress from Tilly and the Buttons. A different one than the one I made, but another one. So because I just became all obsessed with this, I decided to go order more, because that's what I do. I ended up going to Sly Fox Fabrics online. I had not heard of them before. And I bought this fabric, I kid you not. Like, I think I ordered it. Where is my... 2 days ago. Yes, I placed the order 2 days ago. I got it today from Ohio. And I didn't pay for extra shipping or fast shipping. Like, Sly Fox Fabrics, if you have not been there, you need to go there. And you know what? They gave me this little flyer in there. It says, to preserve the color and protect your new fabric from bleeding, we recommend using Shout color catchers in your pre-wash. And they included, I act like the audacity, but no, they included one. It says, included with your order to save you a trip to the store. Like, how nice is that? No one does things like that anymore. So, it says, for best results, please follow the care and cleaning instructions below. And there's all these different types of fabrics listed, and then it tells you how you should launder. I'm kind of like, the speed of shipping. My Shout fabric, what is this? Catcher, color catcher. I'm just like super happy. And the fabric is really, really, really nice. And it was like $8 a yard. Yes, their shipping is a flat fee of $7, but you know what? It's quick and they're nice. Who are these people? They have names. They go by, so it's Katie, Mary Beth, and the team at Sly Fox. Okay, let's start. I'm going to start with the boring ones. So these are all like they are double brushed poly. Oh, they're just so soft. So I got 2 yards of black. I got like this nice sort of dark green. And I got this kind of deep teal. We call this teal blue, and this is evergreen. You can check the color. Who knows if it's going to show up on camera. They are just wonderful. So of course, what I'm going to do is just sew a bunch of Chili in the Buttons shirts and dresses. That's what I'm going to do. And I got, the print I thought was really pretty. It's kind of like a tribal-ish looking, what do they call it? It's called Azteca. So it's like hot pink and blue and navy and purplies. I got 2 yards of each. And I am very excited I'm very excited. And I'm going to go and order more fabrics from Sly Fox. I'm going to add them to my website as a resource because I'm very impressed with them. So good job, Sly Fox. And the last note I will leave this video is, I'm part of the Minerva Crafts blogger, well not blogger, it's a makers team. And occasionally I'll get fabric in exchange for writing a blog and sharing my make with them. So recently, or actually just 2 days ago, my blog went live for them on a little dress I made for my friend's daughter. So I made her a little dress using this like pink jersey with silver stars, and then I had some left over, so I made some leggings. I self-drafted that pattern just using leggings from pre-made leggings, so that worked out. But if you're interested, I'll just pop the link below so you can just take a look and see what I made. I'll pop a picture in so you could see what I'm talking about. But that is all that I have. I just wanted to share with you these wonderful things and just check in with you and see what you're up to and what sewing plans you have. And yeah, so I need to get to filming my mood box, and then I think I have a Julie's Picks Fabric Mart to film too, so those should be up in the next few days. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a very lovely Labor Day weekend.